So what is something that you've been putting off? Something that you've forgotten about, something that you said, when I have more time or when I have more money, that's when I'll get to it. That thing that your heart's really long to do, but you just haven't had the energy maybe to do it. Maybe you've forgotten about it with all the things going on. Well, now is the time to start putting it on your list, to put it on your say yes list. You might have heard of a bucket list, but we call it a say yes list. And we want to help you turn that say yes list item into reality. In fact, we want you to start having lots of say yes list items. So if you don't have a say yes list yet, now is the perfect time to get it. We have a free PDF that you can download just for this. And it actually gives you a list of all the ways on how to create success with this download. And it also gives you a page of where you can write all your say yes list items. And then it also gives you a page on where to start with the say yes list item. Because if you're like most people, you may have that list started, but then it stops for whatever reason. So it walks you through how to actually turn those say yes list items into reality. So if that sounds like something you want, turning your dreams into reality and start living that life you love, now is a perfect time to go and download the free template at thesayyesexperience.com/list. thesayyesexperience.com/LIS as in Sam, T as in Tom. thesayyesexperience.com/list, LIST. So download your free copy today. Welcome to the Say Yes Experience podcast, where we inspire you to get out of your comfort zone and into possibilities. Our mission at the Say Yes Experience is to empower 10 million people to say yes. If you're new here, welcome. We're thrilled you're here. I'm Jessica Rector. I co-founded the Say Yes Experience with my then 9-year-old son Blaze, based off his idea to let's just say yes to things. I'm one of the top experts on burnout, and companies and conferences hire me to present on mental health, wellness, and burnout prevention. As the #1 best-selling author of 11 books, keynote speaker, and a burnout specialist, I've seen so much with our clients. The Say Yes Experience was started to help you really start living, to do the things that light you up, have more fun, and turn your dreams, or what we call say yes list items, into reality. So thank you for investing in yourself and being here. Now let's make it happen. Imagine being part of a team, and that team was invited to participate in the state competition for your sport or activity. Then before the competition, all of your team quits. What would you do? Would you quit too? Our guest today decided to say yes to the opportunity to participate as a team of one at her state cheerleading competition. And because of it, she became a viral sensation, inspiring the world. Please help me welcome Katrina Kohel. Woo!
Hi, everyone.
Thanks so much for being here, Katrina. We're super excited to talk to you today. So tell us a little bit about the situation and kind of what led up to you doing it by yourself and succeeding by yourself. I think it's so exciting.
Yeah, so I originally had 3 other girls on the cheer team with me. They were all freshmen. About a week and a half before state competition, all 3 of them quit for personal reasons. And I had a long conversation with my mom and my coach, just trying to figure out what was the next steps and like what was going to happen. When my mom and I talked, we just kind of decided that why not go by yourself? You know, there's nothing to lose. And so when I talked to my coach, I was like, you know, I want to go cheer by myself. Like, they made their decision to quit. There's nothing we can do about it. You know, we might as well just push forward and continue what we were set out to do.
I love it.
And that's what we did. We changed the routine for one person and went out there and cheered.
And you're a senior, correct? So
yes.
it's your last year doing it.
Yes.
And you were just like, no, I don't want to go out like that. Why were you thinking like, okay, it would have been so easy to quit. So why did you think, no, I'm not going to quit?
Growing up, I was taught that when you start something, you don't quit, you finish. And I didn't want my story to end just because the other girls quit. I didn't want that
Mhm.
to be the ending of my high school cheering career. So I was like, you know what? Like, this is my story. I'm going to write it. I'm not going to let other people write it for me.
I love that. I love that. And that's so powerful to not let someone else dictate our behaviors or our actions, but that we create that for ourselves. Now, this was your last year as a cheerleader. How many years had you been cheering, and what kind of led up to you wanting to be a cheerleader?
So I've been cheering for 4 years. So I've cheered my entire high school career. I have wanted to be a cheerleader since I was a little girl. I remember going to high school football games with my family just to go watch, and I would watch the cheerleaders instead of the game. So, I've always wanted to be a cheerleader. It's
Mm.
always something I dreamed I would do, and making that dream come true 4 years ago and just
Yes.
seeing the reality of it now, it's just really inspiring to myself and just heartwarming.
And it's so amazing. You had this dream when you were a little kid and you worked towards it. And there's things that you did, maybe even not consciously, but there's things that you did. Maybe you were setting your mind right in order to get to the place where you could try out, right? And you have to have certain skills and abilities and talents. And you worked on those to try out and you made it as a freshman. And then all the hard work that it takes every year, every game, and being diligent and practicing, right? And being dedicated to it for 4 years. And this was like the top thing at the end of those 4 years. And you were like, no, no, I'm going to do it. And I love that your mom supported you and that your coach supported you in doing it. So, did you ever think for any time when the other three quit, did you ever think even for a moment, maybe I should just quit, maybe I should just not do it, they've all quit, I don't know how I'm going to do this by myself, there are teams made for four people, not one? Did you ever think about that?
Not really, honestly. It never really crossed my mind to quit. It's not a part of who I am.
I love that. I love that. So, do you think growing up, having that instilled in you from when you were young had to do with that? Or do you think it's more just the way that you've taught yourself and what you've told yourself in your own mind?
I think it has a lot of what I was taught when I was growing up, as well as the person I am now. I think it has a lot to do with both situations, just
Mm-hmm.
because it was a very unusual situation that I was put in.
Mm-hmm. And you were put in this situation and you completely turned it around. So, what did your coach say when you first said, I want to go out there and I want to do it by myself?
She thought I was psycho. She sure thought I was crazy. um, she literally asked me probably 100 times before a competition if I was sure I wanted to do this. And every time I told her yes with a smile on my face. And she's like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Yes." And
Oh my
when I
gosh,
told her,
I love
she thought I was crazy and her jaw hit the floor. So, yeah.
So, what did it take her to get on board? Was there anything you had to say or do in order for her to say, okay, yeah, let's do it. Okay, I'm going to help you tweak this routine to be just for one? Because that also, I mean, you have to think you learned it one specific way for four people, and then you got to relearn things just for yourself.
Right. So there was nothing like too specific that I had to say to convince her. It was just, talking it out with her and being like, they made their decision. We can't change that. Like, let's not let that be the ending of our 4 years. Because she started as the cheer coach my freshman year. And
Oh,
so, we've grown together over these 4 years. And I was like, let's not let this be like the ending to our story and, the ending to our 4 years together. And she's like, you know what, you're right. Like,
that's so
they
endearing.
there's nothing you can do about the decision they made.
That is so endearing that you said, like, let's not let that be our story. You didn't want that to be your story. but you didn't want it to be the end for your story with your coach, because y'all kind of grown up together through cheering together for 4 years. So that is very endearing and extremely insightful, Karina. Like that, you said, "Hey, let's not allow that to be our story." So when you got to the competition, walk us through that. Like you get there, well, even before you get there, are you driving there? Are you flying there? Like, what are you thinking about as you're on your way to the competition, knowing that you're going to do it by yourself and you're likely going to be the only team there that's a solo team?
Yeah, so I actually played in a sub-district basketball game the night before I cheered at state competition. So I was playing
Busy
a basketball
girl.
game in South Platte on Thursday night. And that night
Oh my
I
God.
went with my cheer coach and her family, and we drove to Grand Island. We got there and we didn't have to be there that morning. So we just kind of went and shopped and, got coffee and breakfast and everything and just kind of chilled out that morning. I was relaxed. I wasn't really thinking about it too much. I was like, okay, I cheer today, like not a big deal. It's just like any other it's like any other day, like at a game or whatever. I wasn't really stressing about it or thinking about it. And then we got to the event center where state happens. And my
Mm-hmm.
coach was getting really nervous and anxious. And that made me get nervous.
Right.
And but by the time I got on the floor, my mind just kind of cleared and everything just kind of went away. And I did my routine purely off muscle memory and just, what I knew I needed to do. And I think that's what got me through it.
Yeah. Wow, that's so powerful. So whenever you were doing it, were you not even thinking about it? Were you taking in the surroundings of people watching? Kind of what was going through your mind and your head as you're standing there? What was the audience doing? What were they saying?
They're all just cheering with me and supporting me and
Love it.
cheering me on. I actually, so I do this whenever I cheer. I pick kind of a certain place in the crowd to look at, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a person. It's like just something to look at, and that's just kind
Mm-hmm.
of where I focus my attention, and it like keeps my mind clear. It just keeps me focused on like what I'm there to do. And I had to pick multiple places this time because I had to be able to look all the way around, like
Yeah.
in front of me, and kind of look at everybody. And so I just picked a couple different spots to look at, and like that's kind of what I focused on when I was cheering. Kept a big smile on my face and just went through my routine and just did what I had to do.
I love it. So, how would you explain muscle memory? Because I was telling my son last night that I was interviewing you, and he goes, "Oh my gosh, how did she do that?" So my son's 10 years old, and he's like, "How did she do that?" I said, "Well, she said that she did it through muscle memory." And he's like, "Okay, what is that?" So for those people who don't know what muscle memory is, how would you explain that to them? How you go out there and you do it?
So the easiest way that I can explain it is like if you have a daily routine that you could do like blindfolded, and that like where everything is, exactly what's going to happen, like everything like that. That's the easiest way I can explain it, because that's like your muscle memory. Like you do it every day. It's something you have a routine in, and you go through it every single day, so you know it by heart. Well, that's what
Exactly.
mine was. I went through it every day for like multiple times a day, and that's how I knew it without even having to think about it. It's just something without thinking about.
It's kind of like a shower, right? You don't think about, oh, I'm going to lift up my arm and then move my arm across and then put my hand down and close my fingers around the soap. And then, I mean, our brains would fried if we had to think about all those kind of things, right? So
Right.
you went out there and like when people take a shower, you don't think about washing your hair. You just wash your hair. You just get your hair wet and you put, it's kind of like that you've done it so many times. But here's what's impressive about that, Katrina, is that even though you did it so many times, you did it so many times when there was four people, but then you had to change certain elements for there to be one person. So tell us some of the things that you had to change and that you really then had to get used to doing as one person. So what was something that you had in there that for 4 people, and then how did you change it to accommodate one person?
So for 4 people, we originally had like 2 signs for each of our cheers. And obviously that had to change to 1 sign.
Right.
Or we had, for one, we had 3 signs that had to change to 1 sign. And so I usually wasn't one of the people that that held a sign or that used a sign during our routine. So me getting used to having the signs and using the signs was a little bit different. Other than that, it was just changing where I stood and taking out the stunts and just doing jumps instead, because obviously I can't throw myself in the air.
What? You can't? You
can't? So just changing everything like that to make it to where, I could kind of do my own thing and just have my own stuff.
So when you were up there, even though it was muscle memory, how were you feeling? If you can even recall how you were feeling, or maybe you kind of zoned out and was just going through the routine and the motions of the routine. But do you recall how you were feeling during that time and how you felt after it? Do you want to start saying yes, but you just don't know where to start? And oftentimes when we don't know where to start, we just don't start. So we created an ebook just for you. We put together 101 ways to say yes. In this ebook, ideas big and small, things that only take a small amount of time, like 1 to 2 minutes. Whether you're saying yes to yourself, in your family, relationships, or pushing yourself lovingly outside of your comfort zone with adventures, it's all made to really help you become more of your rock star self. So you can get this ebook at thesayyesexperience.com/book, BOOK. So if you want to start saying yes, or maybe you need some ideas on how to say yes because you get so caught up in being busy and doing tasks and projects or doing laundry and cooking that the time flies by and you want to spend time with your family, but you just don't know how to say yes. Those ideas just don't come to you. We put it together to make it super, super easy for you. So go to thesayyesexperience.com/book to get your copy today and start saying yes now. Are you feeling overwhelmed, stressed, or burned out? We get it. You're not alone. In fact, according to our research, 79% of the workforce is in burnout and almost half are in extreme burnout. In fact, it's the number one reason why people are leaving organizations. They're burned out. They're looking for something more. They're looking for something better. But it doesn't have to be that way. We have your solution. It's called Blaze Your Brain to Extinguish Burnout. 52 keys to prevent, break through, and eliminate burnout. You can find your copy at jessicarector.com/store. Now, this is a great tool that you can use with yourself, with your colleagues, within your organization. Everyone can get one, and you can go through one a week with them. And at the end, you can say, what was something that worked this week? What was a success you had? So you can champion and encourage each other. You can also ask what were the challenges and issues that came up, so you can mastermind and brainstorm around those to keep those from coming up in the future. So make sure you get your copy at jessicarector.com/store. All books are autographed with a personal message just for you.
Oh man, I honestly cannot tell you how I felt during it because I do not know. I don't know if I was even thinking at that point.
You may have just been zoning out and just making sure that you weren't going to mess up, right? Doing that routine and focused on that.
Right. Afterwards, it was an emotional roller coaster.
So why is that?
So my parents actually were not able to come watch me at state cheer because they are both wrestling coaches. And so they were at state wrestling.
Oh, the same day.
Yeah, so I just had my grandparents there to watch me, as well as one of my dad's high school friends that's also another cheer coach in our area. And so my dad's friend actually Facebook Lived it for my mom and dad. And Yeah, but they actually let my grandparents come down into like the after routine waiting area, kind of where you sit like during the next performance and just kind of wait there. And so they actually let my grandparents come down so I could give them a hug. And like, when I hugged my grandma, I just cried. Like, it was, there was so many emotions. There was excitement. There was, being proud, like just all of it at once. And it just kind of all hits you right after that performance. And, that's exactly what it did. And I hugged my coach. And again, I just cried. And my coach's daughter was actually with us, and she is actually a former cheerleader. I cheered with her for 3 years. And so having her there was a huge support to me. Just because, it's a familiar face. It's somebody that I've been out on that mat with twice, prior to me going out there by myself. So having her there just kind of calmed me down.
Yes, of course. And just having that support there. And when you're thinking of that at the end and the emotions are kind of flooding back, it's nice to have that you can just completely release all those emotions too, right? That you can just hug your grandma, hug your coach, hug your friend, and just completely release it, because they've also been through the journey with you, right? They also knew what had happened every step of the way and how hard you worked and how determined you were to get to where you were. So I can imagine all those emotions, even before, like the emotions of finding out that your teammates quit, the emotions of even saying, well, I'm going to do it myself. There's still emotions involved in that decision of saying, okay, I'm going to do it myself. So whether someone gets nervous or anxious, or they're more determined now than ever because they want to prove to others, I can, yes, I can do it, or prove to themselves, hey, I can do it. I don't, I'm strong and I'm not going to quit. And, this was my goal. I'm going to change, that story and make it my own story. Like there's all different kinds of emotions. So even leading up to that, it was probably a roller coaster of emotions on any given day, and not to mention just that you're at state, just the emotions, whether you're one person or four people at state, that you are competing at state, because there's always emotions that go on in any kind of competition, right? You want to make sure you do well. You want to make sure that you don't forget things. You want to make sure that you remember to smile and that you're not sitting there looking super serious, like, oh, I need to remember this. Oh, this is what I do next, and concentrating. So there's all kinds of thoughts and emotions that are constantly going on. But I think it's just so powerful that you have that support system waiting for you, and that you felt completely comfortable that you can release all those emotions in that moment, instead of bottling them all up and then 5 hours later, 5 days later, then releasing them. So I'm glad you had that place where you could just release them and let it all out. And I bet it felt so much better to do it, right?
Yeah, just getting to hug my grandparents, both my grandma and grandpa, like just after that performance, was definitely an amazing feeling for me. Just knowing that they were there, and just having my coach stand by my side, and having a former teammate there was definitely calming to me, and definitely made it feel a lot more comfortable.
I mean, it's so inspiring and really empowering. And I know you've probably gotten lots of people sharing stories, lots of people telling you how inspiring it is. So once you did that, did you think that your story would get to where it has and totally blow up and go viral like it has?
No, not at all. Was not a thought in my mind about that. I was just focused on completing cheering career and just, accomplishing what I set out to do. I didn't think about the publicity of it. I didn't think that it was gonna explode this much or become this popular of a story.
Well, I think the reason why it resonates with people so much is because you're out there just being your awesome self, right? And it's so easy, especially at the age of 17, for, at any age really, but especially when there's so many different things going on in teenagers' lives, peer pressure, bullying, all these things that we hear. It's so easy for someone to just say, okay, everyone's quit, I'm going to too. I'm not going to do that. And in our minds, we tend to take that route as opposed to saying, no, that's not what I want. What I want is to compete. Like, I've worked this hard. I want this to be my story. So, and it's something that maybe you didn't even consciously think about because you were like, we don't, and my family, we don't give up. We don't quit. Right. But that would have been easy for you to do. But yet you chose the harder route in some ways, right? You chose, I'm going to do this. I've got to relearn a routine in a different way. And I have to do it by myself. So you don't have other people doing it with you, which can also be an emotional support as well. So, what do you think by you just staying true to who you are, that teaches other people, especially think of the younger you when you had that dream of being a cheerleader, right? There's little girls out there that see this story. What do you think that teaches them?
I think the biggest thing that people can take from this or learn from this is never be scared of being you. Never be scared of standing alone. You know, you might be standing alone, but you're always going to have somebody behind you to support you. No matter if it's a parent, a grandparent, a coach, a friend, like you're always going to have somebody. And I think the biggest lesson that people can learn from this is just don't be afraid to stand by yourself.
Oh, wow.
Or be different.
That is powerful. And so when they feel that fear come up that they're going to be judged for being different, or what are people going to think if I'm standing alone by myself? Do you have any words of wisdom on how they can work through that? It seems like it came kind of natural to you, but if you think about it, how can someone else who may struggle with that, or they may say, oh, standing alone, that sounds so scary. How can they work through that and get the confidence to do that?
I think one thing for me is don't be worried about what other people think, because that's always going to be something to hold you back. Focus on what you're doing and what you want to accomplish.
Yes. I love that. And focus on where you're going, right? I mean, if you always focus on what other people are going to think or say or do, or they're not going to like me, there's always going to be somebody out there who may not like you, who may, think of you this way. But again, like you said, if you think of that, that's always going to hold you back, because there's always going to be someone out there. And there's this, famous saying that if everybody likes you, you're not doing something right. Like, there's always going to be someone who doesn't agree with you or doesn't like something you're doing, but that shouldn't stop you from going out there and being yourself. Because look at all the amazing things and the people you can impact, right, Katrina? Like, all the people that you've impacted. So tell us one of the stories or something that you've heard from someone on how, because you stood up for yourself and said, this is what I want, going after what I want, and because you stood alone, what impact that has made? Because I'm sure you've heard a lot of stories and a lot of people reaching out and sharing different things. Is there anyone that really stands out in your mind?
Yeah, there was this one comment. It was about it was another cheerleader, and she's obviously been out of high school for a little while. But she actually cheered by herself at the boys' high school basketball team. She cheered at their sub-district game by herself. So, seeing that I'm not the only one out there that has cheered by myself, maybe they didn't do it on a state level, but they also stood up and did something and cheered by themselves and stood alone. And that says something about their character and who they are, and that they can also inspire people even if they didn't do it on a state level. Like, getting up and cheering in front of a crowd in general is hard enough.
It is just standing up in front of a crowd is hard, right? Especially when you're thinking of doing it at such a young age. It's so inspiring and really empowering to so many people, no matter their age, on things that we can really change in our own lives and what we also have control of. And one of the most powerful things I think you said is that you have control of your own story. Like, you get to choose what that looks like, and don't allow somebody else to create that story for you. So as we depart here, what do you think is the biggest takeaway, or after listening to your story, what do you really want people to get from it to help them in their own lives so they can really start saying yes to something? What is that something?
Don't be afraid to go for what you want. even if it means you're going by yourself.
I love that. Don't be afraid to go for what you want, even if you're going by yourself. And sometimes going by yourself is the most rewarding thing that you can do, because I guarantee throughout this journey, Katrina, you've learned so much about yourself, so much more about what you believe in, what you stand up for, what you like, what you don't like, all those things, like really kind of fine tuning it. And you've heard from a lot of different people through the course of this. And you've also probably found out a little bit more about yourself and your character, and you're probably stronger than you even realized or thought you were through all of this. And it's amazing for us to look and see what all is in your future and what you're going to accomplish. So tell us what is on the horizon for you in your life.
I plan on joining the U.S. Air Force and then going to college to get my bachelor's degree in nursing.
Yay.
And another message that I can send out to people is, you can't always stay inside your comfort zone. You got to step out at one point or another. Otherwise, you're always going to live in this little tiny box.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And that's what this Say Yes is about, right? Getting out of your comfort zone and into possibilities. And Katrina, you have opened the door for possibilities in your life. If you had stayed in your little comfort zone and never done this, you would have also been closing the door on so many opportunities and possibilities for yourself, and the opportunity to build your character as well. So it's very exciting to see such a young person doing great things in their lives. And we are so thrilled and so honored for you to be a part of our show. So thank you so much for being here. We have enjoyed, Katrina.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for being here, and we'll see you next time. And go out there, and I hope you have a little Katrina in you, where you are not afraid to stand up for yourself and to stand alone and get outside your comfort zone and into possibilities. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Are you ready to move to your next level of rockstar greatness? CFO, Chief Fun Officer, #1 best-selling author, and keynote speaker Blaze Rector is ready to help you do that. At just 10 years old, he's already written 2 #1 best-selling books. Through the power of storytelling, he uses lessons learned and shares strategies, tips, tactics, and tools to inspire, empower, and motivate you to live a more amazing life. So if you're ready to do that in your own life, grab a copy of his #1 best-selling books at jessicarector.com/store. And when you order your copies, he will personally autograph them and write you a message on those books before shipping them out to you to really inspire and empower you in your life. These books are great for adults and kids alike. So if you're ready to move to your next level of rockstar greatness, make sure you grab your copy at jessicarector.com/store. Enjoy those amazing, empowering, transformational books. Did you know that the 2 biggest issues impacting the workforce are mental health and burnout? Well, we have your solution. The more that you feel burned out, the more it impacts your mental health. The more your mental health is impacted, the more it leads to burnout. So it's a vicious cycle that goes around and around, but it doesn't have to be that way. You can help them both if you're intentional and strategic with it. We have lots of resources for you at jessicarector.com/store. One that I want to highlight that really enhances your mental health is Tame Your Brain Game, 52 tips to turn negative thoughts into positive action. Now, research shows that 80% of your thoughts are negative. No matter how positive you feel, it's the pattern and the habit that you've developed over the course of years, over the course of decades. And that can often impact your life, how you show up, how you lead, how you communicate, how you engage, whether at work or at home. And then it also impacts a work environment. All you need is one NN or TT, negative Nancy or toxic Tim, to really impact that work environment. So if you are ready to enhance your mental health, get your copy of Tame Your Brain Game, 52 tips to turn negative thoughts into positive action today at jessicarector.com/store. All books are autographed with a personal message just for you. Thank you so much for being here. Check us out at thesayyesexperience.com. Our mission at the Say Yes Experience is to empower 10 million people to say yes. With your help in sharing our podcast, we can do that. Follow us on all social media at the Say Yes Experience and join our free community at facebook.com/groups/the Say Yes Experience. Thank you again to our guest. You can find all the contact information for our guest in the show notes. Thank you to our CFO, Chief Fun Officer, Blaze Rector, our business advisor, Lisa Bahurik, and to our team at Jessica Rector Enterprises. We look forward to connecting with you on the next episode. Have an amazing day and keep being a rock star.